The beginning of an unexpected journey. In the expansive, multi-tiered spaceport cafeteria on the human colony planet of Nevotora, the atmosphere buzzed with the sounds of interstellar trade and the mingling of diverse cultures. It was a place where beings from various corners of the galaxy could sit down and share a meal, despite their differences in physiology and tradition. Dr. Alex Mercer, a tall, contemplative human xenobiologist, expertly navigated through the busy crowd, balancing a tray of food in one hand while his other hand absent-mindedly brushed the digital notes he had been taking on his wrist communicator. Nevotora was more than just a spaceport. It was a hub of scientific research, commerce, and diplomacy. The station's vastness stretched across multiple levels, each designed to accommodate the various needs and preferences of different species. Alex had been stationed here as part of an initiative to study and engage with the alien species that frequented the station. His work involved meticulous documentation of their habits, traditions, and cultures, all in the hope of fostering greater human understanding and cooperation with other life forms. As Alex made his way through the cafeteria, his gaze was drawn to a large viewing window that overlooked the docking bays. Beyond the thick, reinforced glass, a kaleidoscope of starships shimmered against the backdrop of deep space, their sleek metallic bodies reflecting the distant light of stars and nebulae. This view had become a comforting sight for Alex, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the countless possibilities it held. Spotting an open table near the window, Alex made his way over, setting his tray down and taking a moment to soak in the view. The sight of the docking bays always filled him with a sense of wonder and curiosity. Each ship that docked at Nevotora represented a new opportunity to learn, to discover, and to connect with the unknown. As Alex sat down, his gaze shifted from the docking bays to the tables around him. The cafeteria was a melting pot of species, each group engaged in animated conversation or quietly enjoying their meals. However, one figure in particular caught his attention, a striking alien seated alone 2 tables away. She had radiant blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the dim light of the cafeteria, and her eyes, a vibrant shade of green, sparkled with an inner light that hinted at both intelligence and mystery. Alex immediately recognized her species from his briefings. She was a Leon. The Leons were known for their enigmatic nature and their rare appearances in human territories. Despite their advanced technology and rich cultural history, they were a reclusive race, preferring to keep to themselves and seldom interacting with outsiders. The opportunity to engage with a Leon was rare, and Alex felt a surge of both professional interest and personal curiosity. After a moment's hesitation, Alex decided to approach her. Picking up an extra cookie from his tray, he walked over to her table, his heart beating slightly faster than usual. The Leon looked up as he approached, her bright green eyes meeting his with a calm yet penetrating gaze. "Hello there," Alex greeted, offering a polite nod. "I'm Dr. Alex Mercer. I couldn't help but notice that you're a Leon. It's not often we see your kind here. May I sit with you?" The Leon, whose name was Lyra, seemed momentarily surprised by his approach. Her expression softened as she took in his words, and after a brief pause, she responded in a melodic voice that resonated with an ethereal harmony. "You may, Dr. Mercer," she said, gesturing to the seat across from her. "I am Lyra. Your observation is correct. We Leons do not often venture this far from our own systems." Alex took a seat, placing the cookie in front of her. "I thought you might like to try something from our cuisine," he offered with a friendly smile. "This is a simple human treat, a cookie, harmless to us, but I hope it's compatible with your diet." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her expression thoughtful as she regarded the cookie with curiosity. "I am familiar with human foods from the data I've studied, but I have not tasted one before," she admitted, her voice carrying a note of intrigue. "It is safe to try." With a graceful movement, Lyra picked up the cookie and took a small bite. As she chewed, Alex watched her reaction intently, hoping it would be a positive experience. The Leons were known for their delicate and refined taste, and he was curious to see how she would respond to the simple, yet universally beloved human treat. "So, what brings a Leon to Nevotora?" Alex asked, eager to learn more about her and perhaps open a dialogue that could deepen the understanding between their species. Lyra finished her bite of the cookie and took a moment to compose her thoughts. "I am here to study human architecture," she explained, her voice calm and measured. "Your structures are fascinating, combining functionality with aesthetics in ways that are quite different from Leon designs. I believe there is much we can learn from each other in this regard." Alex's eyes lit up with genuine interest. "That's really interesting," he said, leaning forward slightly. "I've always been fascinated by architecture myself. Maybe you could share some insights about Leon structures sometime. We could exchange knowledge." Before Alex could continue, he noticed a subtle change in Lyra's demeanor. Her eyes widened slightly, and a faint flush spread across her blue cheeks. She seemed to be growing more tense, her composed exterior beginning to falter. "Dr. Mercer," Lyra interrupted, her voice suddenly tense and tinged with concern, "I am experiencing unusual sensations from this cookie. Is this supposed to happen?" Realizing that something was wrong, Alex's concern quickly grew. He had no reason to believe that the cookie would cause any harm, but it was clear that Lyra was having an adverse reaction. "No, that's definitely not normal," he said, his tone serious. "Let me help you. We should head to the medical center to make sure you're all right." Lyra nodded, her movements slightly unsteady as she rose from her seat. Alex quickly stood as well, gently supporting her by the arm. He could feel the eyes of other patrons on them as they made their way out of the cafeteria, their departure drawing curious glances and whispers. The situation was quickly becoming more complicated than he had anticipated. As they hurried through the bustling corridors of the spaceport, Alex's mind raced with worry. He had wanted to make a connection with Lyra, to learn more about her and her people, but now he feared that his attempt at hospitality had backfired. The spaceport, usually a place of vibrant life and activity, now felt oppressively narrow as he guided the visibly distressed Leon through the throng of people. "Just hold on, Lyra. We're almost there," Alex reassured her, his voice calm but urgent. He could see the strain in her expression, the way her glowing eyes darted around as she tried to maintain her composure amidst the unfamiliar environment. The medical center was located on one of the lower levels of the spaceport, a cutting-edge facility designed to meet the diverse biological needs of the many species that passed through Nevotora. As they approached the entrance, the doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the sterile, brightly lit interior. Dr. Lena Reynolds, a seasoned medical officer with a reputation for her expertise in xenobiology, was the first to notice them. Her sharp, clinical eyes quickly assessed the situation as she approached with a medical scanner already in hand. "Alex, what's going on?" Dr. Reynolds asked, her tone professional but tinged with concern. "It's the cookie I gave her," Alex explained, his voice heavy with regret. "I thought it would be safe. Lyra, this is Dr. Reynolds. She's the best we've got." Lyra managed a weak smile, even as her body began to react more violently to the unknown substance in the cookie. Dr. Reynolds passed the scanner over her, her brow furrowing as she reviewed the readings. "It's interacting with her biochemistry, some kind of hyper-stimulant effect," Dr. Reynolds announced, her voice grave. "We need to flush her system immediately." She directed them towards an isolation room equipped with advanced medical technology, her steps brisk and purposeful. In the isolation room, Lyra was laid on a diagnostic bed, her body now shimmering with a bioluminescent glow, a natural defensive response triggered by the stress her body was under. Alex watched anxiously as Dr. Reynolds prepared a detoxifying serum, her movements precise and controlled. "This should counteract the effects, but it might be a rough ride," Dr. Reynolds warned as she applied the serum via a dermal patch to Lyra's arm. Almost immediately, Lyra's breathing began to slow, and the intensity of her glow started to diminish. Alex felt a wave of relief wash over him, and he sank into a chair beside her, the weight of his guilt heavy on his shoulders. I'm so sorry for this. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. He apologized sincerely, his voice thick with emotion. Lyra turned her head to look at him, her expression softening despite the lingering effects of the ordeal. "It's not your fault, Alex. You couldn't have known," she said, her voice gentle. "I'm thankful for your help." As the serum took effect, Lyra's symptoms gradually began to ease, but the incident had already caused a stir outside the isolation room. Word of the situation spread rapidly through the spaceport, drawing the attention of station security and a curious crowd. The presence of a distressed Leon, a rare and enigmatic visitor, had become a topic of intense interest among Nevotora's diverse inhabitants. Meanwhile, Alex received a call on his communicator from his superior, Director Sarah Cole, who had been briefed on the unfolding events. "Alex, I need a full report on this incident," she said, her tone firm and no nonsense. "Make sure Dr. Reynolds documents everything thoroughly. We can't afford any diplomatic mishaps, especially involving a Leon." "Understood, Director," Alex responded, fully aware of the delicate nature of the situation. "I'll take care of it." Once Lyra's condition had stabilized, Alex escorted her out of the medical center, only to be met by a security detail waiting just outside the doors. The head of security, Captain Marks, a stern man with a reputation for strict adherence to protocol, approached them with a determined expression. "Dr. Mercer, we need to interview Miss Lyra about what happened," Captain Marks stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Protocol demands a full understanding of the incident." Lyra, though still recovering, agreed without hesitation. She understood the importance of following procedure, especially given the sensitive nature of her presence on Nevotora. Alex felt a protective instinct flare up, but he knew that cooperating with security was the wisest course of action. They were led to a secure conference room where Lyra recounted her experience in detail, her voice steady, but her eyes reflecting the distress she had endured. After the debriefing, Alex and Lyra found themselves at the center of a growing controversy. The incident, which had begun as a simple gesture of hospitality, had quickly spiraled into something much larger, with potential repercussions for interspecies relations on Nevotora. As they left the conference room, they were met by a corridor filled with whispering onlookers and the flashing lights of media drones. The story of Lyra's reaction to a human cookie and the ensuing medical emergency had already become sensational news, spreading like wildfire through the spaceport. Uncomfortable with the attention, Alex pulled Lyra aside into a quieter passage, away from the prying eyes and cameras. "Lyra, I think it's best if we stay out of the spotlight for a while," Alex suggested, glancing around for a more discreet route. "This could blow up into something bigger than we want." Lyra, regaining her composure but still visibly shaken, nodded in agreement. "You're right, Alex. This kind of attention could jeopardize my mission here." Together they decided to take a less traveled path through the spaceport's service corridors, an area seldom used by the general public. The noise and activity of the main thoroughfares faded into the background as they navigated the narrow, dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing softly against the metal floors. The steady hum of machinery filled the air, punctuated by the occasional clank of distant maintenance work. As they walked, Alex's communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Dr. Reynolds. He glanced at the screen, concern etching his features. "Lena says the substance in the cookie could have unknown long-term effects," he said, his voice laced with worry. "We need to run more tests to make sure you're okay." Lyra stopped in her tracks, turning to face him with a steady gaze. "I appreciate your concern, Alex, but I can't be a subject of human medical scrutiny indefinitely," she said firmly. "My people are very cautious about such matters, and I must respect our protocols." Recognizing the validity of her concerns, Alex slipped his communicator back into his pocket. "I understand," he said, his voice softening. "Let's find a safe place first, and then we'll figure out our next steps." Their route eventually led them to an old maintenance hangar, a largely forgotten space that hadn't been used in years, a relic from the early days of the spaceport. The hangar was vast and dimly lit. the faint smell of machine oil lingering in the air. It was a place where they could lay low, away from the prying eyes of the public and the relentless curiosity of the media. Alex knew a technician named Milo, who often worked nearby and used the hangar as a quiet retreat during his breaks. Milo was trustworthy and had a reputation for discretion, qualities that Alex knew they would need in the coming days. Milo arrived swiftly after Alex called him, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern as he approached. "Alex, what happened?" Milo asked, his gaze shifting between Alex and Lyra, who was now resting on a makeshift bench. "Why are you hiding out here?" "We need a place to lay low for a bit," Alex explained, glancing around the hangar. "Something happened and we need to avoid drawing any more attention to it." Milo nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "You can stay here as long as you need," he said, his voice reassuring. "I'll make sure no one comes looking for you." As Milo left, Alex and Lyra settled into the quiet of the hangar. The distant sounds of the bustling spaceport seemed like a world away, leaving them in a cocoon of solitude. Alex knew that this was just the beginning of a complex and potentially dangerous situation. The events of the past few hours had highlighted the fragility and complexity of interactions between different species, and he understood that their next steps would be crucial, not just for their own futures but for the future of interspecies relations on Nevotora. But for now, they had a moment of peace, a chance to regroup, to reflect, and to decide how to navigate the uncertain path that lay ahead. The stars outside, visible through a small window in the hangar, twinkled brightly in the vast expanse of space, a reminder of the countless possibilities and challenges that awaited them. Alex looked over at Lyra, who had closed her eyes and was breathing steadily, her bioluminescent glow now barely visible. He knew that this experience had shaken her, but he also sensed a strength in her that he admired. She was resilient, determined, and despite everything that had happened, she had remained composed and focused on her mission. As Alex sat beside her, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility. He had set out to bridge the gap between humans and other species, to foster understanding and cooperation. But now he realized that this mission was not just about collecting data and writing reports. It was about forming real, meaningful connections that could withstand the challenges and uncertainties of life in a universe as vast and diverse as theirs. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be obstacles, misunderstandings, and perhaps even conflict. But Alex was determined to navigate it with care, with compassion, and with a commitment to the principles that had brought him to Nevotora in the first place. In the stillness of the hangar, as the station outside continued its operations, Alex made a silent vow to himself. He would do everything in his power to ensure that the bond he and Lyra had begun to form would not only endure but flourish. It was a small step, but in a universe filled with so much uncertainty, it was a step that could make all the difference. The stars outside bore silent witness to this resolve, twinkling like distant beacons of hope in the infinite night. And as Alex watched over Lyra, he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united by a shared commitment to understanding, respect, and the pursuit of a brighter future for all.